What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be checking out inside the Glasshouse, special access to the Military Corrective Training Center. I'm not really sure exactly what we're about to look into. I've seen this mentioned a number of times in the comments, and I think it's basically a place where, as the title says, it's a corrective training center for military personnel that have basically gotten in trouble. In other words, sort of like a military prison, but the thumbnail says something about this isn't a military prison.
Or maybe more like a detention center.
Yes, I think that's what this is. I'm not really 100% sure, guys, but that's why we're going to check it out. I wonder why it's called the Glasshouse.
MCTC, the Military Corrective Training Center, also known as the Glasshouse, or simply Collie. Cameras are rarely allowed in, and rumours of what lies inside are rife. When detainees arrive, they are searched and personal items taken from them. But this is not a prison. There's no bars, no barbed wire. The staff wear greens, just like the detainees. Some of them have been here before, serving sentences themselves. It's all about correction, and it seems to work. The reoffending rate is impressively low, at just 10%. Despite minimal security, no one has tried to escape from here.
Okay, I want to say 10%. Although they said this isn't a prison, obviously this is trying to do basically what a prison should do, which is rehabilitate someone, correct?
Yeah.
But from what I understand, at least here in America, I haven't looked at the numbers in Britain, but here in America, the reoffending rate for a prisoner is through the roof.
Yeah.
Now, granted, these are already soldiers or military personnel, so they should have quite a bit of discipline compared to your average civilian, maybe. But nonetheless, only a 10% reoffense rate is pretty incredible.
Years.
And no one's tried to escape?
MCTC is unique. Many describe it as the military prison. It's not. We are the Corrective Training Centre, but we help soldiers, sailors and airmen make change. So that's change so that they can go back to the Army, Navy or Air Force as their soldiers, sailors and airmen. Or go to transition out of service life into civilian street with a realistic prospect of employment by giving them some vocational skills, and we make the difference.
So you can crack on with the test.
The detainees spend their time either keeping up their green skills or in vocational training, preparing to transition out of the military. Their pay is stopped, and like in prisons, privileges such as phone credit, money for the shop and parole can be earned for good behaviour. Inspection is at 0800 each day, and for correcting conduct, it's a good place to start.
Okay, I'm a little confused. They're saying it can be to re-enter the branch they came from. Because I'm unclear as to why they're in here, I guess.
Well, obviously they broke some sort of laws or something.
But they also said to re-enter civilian life. So not everyone goes here to re-enter civilian life, I guess.
No. Some are going. Some will end up back in the military. It sounds like, but
if they're re-enlisted or something, or still have time,
or maybe they're still enlisted, but it kind of like instead of going to a full-on prison by breaking some sort of law, they get to come here, and I think this is really incredible. This gives someone the chance to really self-reflect and to actually, I guess, even go to a more a further level of discipline than they were already even used to being in the military, it sounds like, because even though this isn't a prison, it's somewhat prison-like in some ways. You don't have the same freedoms that you would in the outside, I suppose. But this is really awesome. I think this is a great idea. People that have, I don't know what they've done, but like they've obviously done some things wrong, but instead of just sitting in some prison, they're going to get an opportunity, because that's what this is an opportunity to turn it around before they they go further into whatever maybe they were jumping into, so to speak. That's pretty cool.
Good morning, staff. I'm DUS Jelly, sentenced by my commanding officer to term detention of 90 days. I'm currently in week 10 of A Company, currently employed in military training staff.
If you're having a bad day, it doesn't matter as long as you've made your bed in the morning. As long as you've made your bed in the morning, if you've had the worst day in the world, at least at the end of the day when you go home to a made bed. And, you know, it's not actually that bad. Do you know what I mean? Like, and then you can start again the next day. Like, as long as you've done one good thing for that day, then the only way is up, effectively. About turn?
Okay, I know this is no big deal, but I thought this was interesting. Did you see that?
No.
How the shoes are laid out instead of them together. They're split up like that.
Yeah.
If anyone knows, what is the reason for that? I've never seen that before. You usually would see the shoes side by side, the ones that match.
The only way is up, effectively. About turn?
DUS, or Detainee Under Sentence, Oliver Jelly, was given 90 days at MCTC. Tomorrow, his sentence is complete. This morning,
Wow,
though, he
feels good.
received some bad news.
A bit more tension. Right then, Jelly. What's going on?
Yeah, so I spoke to my unit yesterday regarding my release tomorrow.
Okay.
And something's come up that I might be getting discharged.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
What's your experience of being here been like?
To be honest, I've quite enjoyed it. Coming here is probably a lifesaver. I think if I went to a normal prison, I wouldn't be this place where I am now, if you know what I mean, in the state of mind that I am.
DUS Jelly doesn't want to talk about what he did. He tells me in a civilian court he'd likely have been sentenced to 4 years. He desperately wants to stay in the RAF.
Wow.
You sound like inspired and raring to go.
Yeah, 100%.
What is it that's kind of made
I think it's the fact that I learned a lot of things while I'm here. So I've grown up, you know, I've become mature in myself. Yeah, much better person.
in just those 59 days?
Yeah.
It needs to be a lot more square and like.
I haven't been told I've been discharged yet. I'll probably be told next week if I am by my commanding officer. So I recommend is there, but my commanding officer has said to me that he already wanted to keep me anyway. So, you know, I've still got my fingers crossed.
I know it's upsetting because I know it's not what you want.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like this has sort of come along and just gone, like, crushed everything.
Yeah.
Like, I'm still 18, so I've still got a lot of opportunities ahead of me.
Yeah.
But, you know, this was my career. This is what I wanted to do for life, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And he might be discharged.
Sometimes, like, we make mistakes. Like, we all make mistakes.
In your mind, you just think you just made a mistake?
Yeah, a big mistake. You know, I'd never do it again. Never.
Whatever they've done to get here, I don't really care. I'm here to make sure that when they are here, they're striving to be better, they're motivating themselves, they're motivating others, they're making sure that they are ticking all the boxes that they need to tick in order to either go back to society as a better person, to be an active, good citizen, or to go back to their regiment and for their chain of command to turn around and go, do you know what? I can see the improvement, I can see that you've got the zeal, you've got that attitude to get back into the military green lifestyle that we all joined for.
And what if they don't have that attitude? Then where do you start?
So that's when the challenging behaviour comes in. So that's where I come alive. About it, I want to challenge that behaviour. Why don't you want to do this? Why don't you want to do that? Right, turn.
It may seem strange that an employer, the MOD, should strive so hard to set employees back on the right track. It doesn't happen in Civvy Street. A minor gaffe from a politician, a manager's team losing in a Premier League match, and they're expected to resign. Whilst the vast majority are here for minor offences, like going absent without leave, others have committed more serious crimes. Not only could this be a second chance, resources are poured into their development.
There's a moral obligation to look after our people. Our people are our core capability. Everything we do in the military is about our people. But at a more macro level, it's about the investment the system has made in terms of the training that we've invested in those individuals. Why would we throw it away for what quite often is a silly mistake, is rule breaking rather than law breaking? Why wouldn't you want to make those adjustments so that individual can rejoin the service?
Okay, so I find this interesting because I'm a little confused on, are most of the people there simply because they broke some sort of military rule?
That's what it sounds like he's saying.
But the kid we were just seeing said he would have been served, he served 4 years if he was sentenced in a civilian court.
I think I said most people are
Right,
here
I know.
for breaking simply rules, but not all. Some people are there for.
I wonder, like, I wonder, like, what the worst offense someone could do and end up here.
And then, like, beyond that, like, what's the cap? You
Yeah.
know, like.
What happens, like,
What's
if you
the max
break
where- yeah, if you
beyond
go
that,
above that, yeah.
you just, now you've got to go to some sort of actual military prison,
Right.
or you are discharged from the military and you are going into a civilian court and being sentenced to a civilian prison.
Right.
That's interesting. I'd like to know more about that.
We are recognised as a true vehicle for social mobility. And why would we throw it away? Why wouldn't we want to give them a second chance, reinstill some of those values and standards, and start again?
It's difficult for the army to let you go in an instant, if that makes sense. Like what you would get fired for in Civilian Street, you would be punished in the army, but it would be a different kind of punishment. I think the army is quite forgiving in who you are, and it likes you to be who you are, to learn who you are, to find your way through, to be that better person that you can be. My job is to make sure that these people go back to their regiments a better person, and more often than not, the people that leave here, they go back to their regiment and they promote.
MCTC wasn't always this cuddly, shall we say. This is the farm, one of the many training areas on offer to detainees. When they were inspected by Her Majesty's Chief Inspector of Prisons back in 2004, the results were not good. It was then they made the switch from a punitive to a more reformative approach. An inspection in 2017 produced glowing results.
Some detainees will be filled with dread prior to arrival.
Captain Rob Moffat is the officer commanding in charge of both A and D Company, those returning to service and those transitioning out.
The reputation that the Glasshouse, as people would refer to MCTC, it may have been similar to that many decades ago, but we've moved on. It's more than just locking an individual behind a door and drilling them and PTing them. It's about unpicking their offending behaviour. One detainee, when he arrived, after a couple of days of being here, physically spoke to myself and said, "When does it start?" And he was talking about the excessive PT, the oppressive regime. The punitive aspect of their sentence is that loss of liberty and loss of pay. We're not here to exert any more punishments per se on them during the sentence.
The first time it was quite a shock because I thought it was going to be a lot more bearing.
Wait, the first time?
Everyone shouting at you and stuff.
DUS Daly is doing his second stint at MCTC for going absent without leave. Like DUS Jelly, he's to be released tomorrow.
What are you looking forward to?
That's interesting.
What?
So I wonder how many times you can reoffend and still just be sent here versus being cut completely or a harsher punishment.
Yeah.
I don't know. He doesn't seem that upset about being back there.
No, it doesn't seem like it's nearly as hard. I can see why they would say this isn't a prison, because it doesn't really seem like prison. But you do have certain aspects of a prison as you're losing liberty and you're obviously losing your pay and whatnot. But it doesn't seem like the more harsh environment of a prison. Yeah. And in some ways, maybe even less, I don't know, less harsh than if they were training in the military. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
at
it's
least what we think of here.
Right. Or at least in, yeah. All right. Anyway.
When you get out?
Seeing my kids. So,
oh, he's got kids.
How old are they?
I've got a 6-month, a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, and I've got one on the way.
Oh my goodness.
6 months and one on the way. Wow.
What do you think of the staff that work here?
Gleeman, to treat you like a human being and let you do stuff. For example, if you want to deliver a lesson, you'll deliver a lesson. When I get my full screw, I would want to come back here as a staff. So, because I've been here before, I know what I'm going through.
Before DUS Daly leaves, he has his haul up in front of the commanding officer.
Stand up, ease.
Do you see yourself ready to go back to 6th Reg and the Army?
Yes, sir.
And where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
Hopefully corporal, sir.
We've set them up. They've made a mistake. They realise it, but they're able to set the next chapter up, and it's really rewarding to see that change. Guys and girls that are sent here are not bad people. They've just made some poor choices, and we're able to put them on the even keel again.
Do you think there's things that you do here that could be done in the mainstream prison system?
If any of the governors had the resources we do and the staff ratios we do, I think they would be able to deliver what we achieve. I just think we're different, and I'm lucky enough to have that resource.
So are they locked in at night into their
For the
rooms?
future. And in a positive way, don't want to see you again.
Right, thank you very much, Daddy. Good luck.
Cheers.
I wonder if his reason for going AWOL was to do with his kids. Good for him. Aww. That's sad. Oh, wow.
Oh.
Really? That's surprising.
That is surprising. So
if you're discharged in the UK from the military, you can at least in this case, you can reapply.
Is that like in most cases, or is that just in a situation like this?
Because I feel like here, I don't know for sure, but I feel like you probably would.
If you're being forced to be discharged in America, I feel like it would pretty much always be a dishonorable discharge, wouldn't it? I mean,
I think.
How are you going to be forced to be? Well, under certain circumstances, like a health issue or something like that, perhaps it wouldn't be a dishonorable discharge. But like, if you went to here and then you were discharged, it sounds like it wouldn't be under honorable circumstances, correct?
I don't know.
I don't either. Let us know in the comments, guys. That is a little confusing. I'm kind of surprised to see that you could reapply. You know, the kid obviously wanted to make this his career. Hopefully he can make that happen.
And he's so young, 18.
Yeah,
I mean,
people make all sorts of mistakes as a teenager, you know. But I really like this idea. I think this is amazing, and I think that something like this should be used in more prison systems, like in civilian prisons as well.
Well, like he was saying, though, the main guy that was talking, he said if most prisons had the resources they have and the ability to have the amount of staff that they have per person, then they probably could get the same results. But
I just, I haven't really looked into British prisons, like in general. I've obviously know some things about American prisons, and in most of them, they basically just lock people away that did more minor offenses, and a lot of times they're in the same prison with a bunch of like hardened criminals. Yeah, because it's not always about rehabilitation. A lot of times, or most time, I think.
Say most of the time.
It's literally about we're just going to throw you somewhere for a period of time, and you're going to potentially be with hardened criminals when you yourself may have just done some stuff that's, yes, wrong, you shouldn't have done, but
now the really bad stuff's rubbing off on you, and you come out and
I think sometimes the people that didn't do crazy hardcore crimes, they get in there with a bunch of hardened criminals, and then just to feel like to survive, they kind of need to
become worse,
take on a persona, and then by the time they leave years later, they have actually become a worse person because of the persona they've taken on. And it's like, prison should be about rehabilitation, and this wasn't a prison. It's not what I'm saying, but I'm just saying that this type of situation, they're doing it right. Obviously from much more minor offenses, but nonetheless, they're doing it right by, instead of, you basically telling people you are like, what's the word I'm looking for? You can't be better. You're
worthless.
You're worthless. You're a bad person.
Society,
Yeah. So that I think is awesome. And something I've always thought, I don't think they do this here, but I think it would be amazing for prisons, corrective training centers. I will also say for juvenile, we call it juvenile hall or juvie hall here.
Or juvenile correction.
Juvenile correction. All of the different types of correctional center. I think that the prisoners, it would do them well to have to grow a large portion of their own food. Grow all the fruit and veg on site. You know what I mean? Raise the chickens to feed
Take care of something other than yourself.
Right. You start
have
taking
a bigger purpose.
I've even seen it where they actually
the cat.
The cat thing.
Yeah.
And what it does is it gives them something to live for while they're there. It gives them some purpose. Now, here, this is different, but nonetheless, this is an awesome situation. Giving these, and a lot of times kids, I mean, let's be honest, probably the majority of them are going to be at most early 20s, probably. You know, I'm sure there are going to be some that are in their 30s. Very little probably in their 40s, probably. Right. But, you know, so in a lot of cases, these are kids or just new adults, right? Young adults. And they break some minor law rules in the military, or they maybe break the law slightly. And they get to go in here and just kind of reassess themselves in their life in an environment that's not saying you're worthless and not just throwing away the key, so to speak. And they're able to like really think, is this the trajectory I want to go on?
Right.
And because of that, they end up really, you know, becoming better.
Turning their life around.
And if they do get discharged from the military, they're able to get job training while they're in there, it looks like. And just some, you know, redisciplined in a way.
Yeah, I would be curious to know though, like what the maximum offense would be for somewhere like this.
Yeah, I think that'd be interesting. And something I also didn't see is, do they get locked in their room every night? Because I didn't see any cells; they were like rooms.
Right.
And do they have bunkmates in there? I thought I saw a couple of beds, but I'm not sure. I think
it looked like it was like when they were showing
the one guy,
the one kid, he had like maybe 5 other rooms.
Oh, was that many?
It was.
I thought I only saw one
number.
other.
No,
okay.
there were
so
beds.
I'm guessing they probably do get locked in at night. I'd be surprised they didn't. But although I didn't see a bathroom in there, so I don't know. Anyways, guys, this is awesome. I like it. I'm still curious why they call it the Glasshouse.
I think that was prior to changing the way they did things, like when they did the more punitive types of punishment.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So it just stuck, I guess.
Yeah. Well, anyways, I like this sort of topic, guys. So if you have anything you'd like us to check out like this, please let us know in the comments. That goes for military type stuff, but also prison type stuff. I'm definitely interested in learning about jails and prisons and all that sort of thing. So if you have any recommendations, please feel free to drop them in the comments. But I think that's it for today. Thank you so much for stopping by. Please click that like button. Feel free to drop your comments or suggestions about this video or others. And don't forget to subscribe to continue to follow us on our journey to discover anything and everything about the UK and Ireland. Until next time, guys, peace.